Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to Botanica. So previously we have discussed about the xerophytes. What are xerophytes? Classification of the xerophytes. That there are three types of xerophytic plants. And after that we have discussed about the adaptations which are found in the xerophytes. And we have also seen that those adaptations may be of morphological, physiological, or it may be of anatomical. Yeah, or we can say that these adaptations are either they are collective effort. Adaptations are found on morphology, adaptations are found in their physiology, and adaptations are found also in their anatomy. So it is a collective effort from all the parts of the plant. The structure is made like that so that the water should be reduced. Water loss should be reduced, and also high temperature to cope with the high temperature which is in the surrounding environment. So now we are heading toward our second step, that is the anatomical modifications in the xerophytes. As far as the anatomy is concerned, it is the internal overall structure of the plants and the animals. So as far as the comparison of the anatomy is concerned, there are various anatomical modifications in the xerophytes which enable them to live in the harsh environment. So there are a number of modifications. Those modifications are internal, as we are discussing about the anatomy, and all aim principally at water economy. Obviously they are living in the xeric environment, drought conditions. So all these adaptations are principally for water economy, so as the anatomical modification. So what are those anatomical modifications? First of all, we have a heavy cutinization. So what is a cutin? So as far as the cutin is concerned, cutin is a we can say that hydrophobic type of a material which is present on the surface of the leaves and other parts of the plants which are present in the xerophytes, and this particular cutinization prevents the water loss. So heavy cutinization, cutin and lignin and wax, these are all hydrophobic compounds which are deposited on the surface of the epidermis and even in the hypodermis, which are very common in the xerophytes. So as far as the cutinization and the deposition of hydrophobic structures are concerned, they are not only deposited on the outer surface of the plants, they are may be present on the hypodermis as well. So as far as the different hydrophobic compounds are concerned, those may be it may be cutin. So that's why we have given the name cutinization. It may be lignin, so that is called the lignification, or it may be some wax, which is we called wax deposition, and it may be present on the surface, or it may be present in the hypodermis as well. So because of this lignification, there is a shining smooth surface of the cuticle which reflects the rays of light. So as far as the cuticle function of the cuticle is concerned, cuticle also reduce the water loss, and on the same time, because of the cutinization, the rays of the light they are reflected because of this shining surface which is because of the cutin. So that's why cutin is not only there to reduce the water loss in the way that it is hydrophobic environment, it is hydrophobic component, but as far as it is present on the surface of the leaf, it also reflects the rays of light. So as far as the epidermis, the second part, the epidermis is concerned, in the anatomy of the epidermis is not the single layer. Cells are small and compact. So as the cells are very small, cells are compact, but it is single layered, but multiple epidermis is not uncommon. Mostly there is a heavy cutinization on the surface of the leaves, and after the cutin there is a single layer of epidermis, but in the most of the we can say that in many xerophytic plants there are also epidermis which is multiple epidermis, multiple layers of epidermis, multiple layers of cells are present after that cutin. So in nerium leaf that is present in the xerophytic environment, xerophytic plant, we can say that epidermis is 2 or 3 layers. So that's why we are calling it the multiple epidermis which is present in the nerium. So as you can see here, this is the overall picture, overall diagram of the leaf. which is discussing or which is describing the various modifications. We are starting from here. So here you can see there is a heavy cutinization, a cutin which is present on the surface. So it is not only reducing the water loss, that it is a hydrophobic component, hydrophobic molecule compound, but it is also reflecting the rays of light. That's why it also reduces the water loss. After the cuticle, you can see here are the 2 or 3 layers of cells, which you can see it is the epidermis. And this particular epidermis is not single layered, this is the upper multiple layers of epidermis. Here you can see in the lower surface there is a single layer of cells, but here on the upper surface the epidermis is present, but that particular epidermis is multiple layers. So these are the 2 types of adaptation which we have seen, that there is a cutinization along with the multiple layers of epidermis which is present on the surface, upper surface of the leaf. So remember, these both of the adaptation mostly they are present on the upper surface, because in the xerophytes stomata mostly are present on the lower surface, because stomata are the opening which are made for the gaseous exchange as far as for the transpiration. So if they are present on the upper surface, so they will directly be exposed to the light and harsh temperature. So that's why they are made in the xerophytes on the lower surfaces, which reduces the water loss. So there are the third category, which is the hairs. So their hair are present on the epidermal in origin. As far as the hairs are concerned, they are present on the epidermis. So these hairs may be simple or compound, uni or multicellular. So there is a variety of the hairs which are present in the xerophytes. So mostly they are epidermal in origin. We can say that they are originating from the epidermis. They are not originating something from the inner structure of the leaf. They are mostly originated from the epidermis. They may be simple or they may be compound. What the term simple and compound means, that there are only one single hair originating from the epidermis, or there may be that single hair may be variously branched, or it is may be forming a very dense structure. As far as their components or constituent cells are concerned, they may be unicellular or they may be multicellular. As far as the function of hair are concerned, these hairs protect the stomata and prevent excessive water loss. As you can see in the previous diagram, and we are going to see that diagram again. So these hairs are present on the lower surfaces surrounding the stomata. So as far as these hairs are present above the stomata, so they reduce the excessive water loss. And in some plants, surface of stems and leaves develop characteristic ridges and furrows and pits. And these furrows and pits, why they are formed? These are the deep structures. The furrows and pits in these plants are the common sites of stomata. So in the xerophytic plants or xerophytes, the stomata are not generally located on the surface of the epidermis. There are pits or furrows which are in the epidermis, and those stomata are present in the pits. That's why they should not directly expose to the environment. So in these furrows, so these stomata are again guarded by the single, or we can say that hairs, and those hairs also prevent the excessive water loss. So hair found in these depressions protect the stomata from the direct strokes of strong wind. As you can see, when there is a strong wind, it will also increases the water loss. So that's why these hairs are protective in function. They are guarding, they are defending, they are reducing the water loss. As you can see here we have the cuticle, the epidermis, which is single layered, the hypodermis, which also may contain the cutinization and wax. But in the lower surface, the stomata are present, but here this lower surface is not somewhat, we can say that straight. Here is a pits which are found in the lower epidermis, and these in these pits there are the stomata which you can see the stoma in the cavity. Stomata are present in these pits, and in these cavities there are also hairs which are present and surrounding and guarding the stomata, which is protecting the stomata for excessive water loss. So as far as the stomata are concerned, in xerophytes, reduction of transpiration is of utmost importance. As far as the transpiration is concerned, transpiration is reduced as it is possible. So it is possible only to reduce the stomata in two ways. As far as the stomata is concerned, either the stomatal number may be decreased or it may be reduced, or if the stomata are elaborately modified, which we have seen previously that these stomata are not generally the simple stomata which are present in the xerophytes and other plants, but they are modified. How they are modified? Firstly, they are present in the pits and furrows and they are not directly exposed to the environment, and secondly, they are present, they are surrounded and guarded by the hairs, which also prevent the excessive water loss. So in xerophytes, number of stomata per unit area of leaf is greater than in mesophytes. So as far as the number of stomata are concerned, they are greater, but they are guarded. So they are generally of sunken type, so their number usually doesn't matter if they are sunken type, if they are reducing the water loss. So they are of sunken type stomata. So this is the characteristic type of stomata which is found in the xerophytes. Next we have the hypodermis. Hypodermis is present below the epidermis, which is the we can say that it is also protective in function. In xerophytes, just below the epidermis, one or several layers of the thick walled compact grouped cells may be developed that form the hypodermis. So this is the origin. So here we can see there is a cuticle epidermis, and after the epidermis there is a hypodermis with gums and tendons. So as these structures are concerned, you can see these all are protective in function. They all are made to reduce the water loss, and to water loss should be at minimum. Either that is the multiple layers epidermis, either that is the cutinization, either that is the hypodermis which is present after the epidermis, sunken stomata. So these all are made to reduce the water loss. So the cells may be much like those of epidermis, which are we have discussing about the hypodermis. So these cells of the hypodermis, they are like the epidermis, they may be derived of the epidermis or from the cortex which is in the stem, or from the mesophyll in case of leaves. So this is the we are talking about the origin. The hypodermal cells may sometimes be filled with tannin and mucilage, which function as to reduce the water loss. So as far as the ground tissue is concerned, so those tissues, they are protective in function, epidermis, hypodermis, and after that we have a ground tissue which contains the cortex, the vascular bundle, and all the other tissues. In the stem, a great part of the body is formed by the sclerenchyma cells. So in these cases where the leaves are either greatly reduced or they fall in the early season, the photosynthetic activity is taken up by the outer chlorenchymatous cortex. So in most, or we can say that in many xerophytic plants, the function of photosynthesis or the process of photosynthesis is not carried out by the leaf. In xerophytes, the leaves fall off early so as to reduce the water loss, but the chlorenchymatous cells are present in the stem. So that's why the function or the process of photosynthesis is carried out by the stem and not by the leaf. So that's why we are calling it that the cortex in the stem, it is chlorenchymatous, and it is made to take up or to carry out the function of photosynthesis. In succulent stems and leaves, ground tissues are filled with thin-walled parenchymatous cells which store excess quantity of water, mucilage, latex, and many other compounds. So there are also stems which are succulent, and we have discussed it previously, and these ground tissues are filled with the thin-walled parenchymatous cells, and those parenchymatous cells are made. Why they are made? They are made to store water. So this makes the stem swollen and fleshy. In the leaves, mesophyll is very compact and the intercellular spaces are greatly reduced. And why they are reduced? So because they are reduced so to minimize the water loss. There are some xerophytes in which mesophyll is surrounded by a thick hypodermal sheath of sclerenchyma from all the sides except from the below. So as far as these succulency and intercellular spaces, reducing the intercellular spaces and all the other anatomical modifications are concerned, they are made to reduce the water loss. So cells in the body are generally very small, thick-walled and compactly grouped, and they may be spherical, rounded or cuboid in shape. So these are all the modification, and these are all the conditions which we have seen previously. Here you can see the bundle sheath extension. These are the mesophills, or we can say that the cells which are responsible for to carry out photosynthesis. Pellucid parenchyma, they are compact, they are arranged accordingly The bundle sheath cells are present here. So these are all modifications they are made to reduce the water loss. So as far as the conducting tissues are concerned, conducting tissues, xylem and phloem develop very well in the xerophytic body. So as conducting tissue, xylem is responsible for the conduction of the water and phloem for the food. So they are very well developed, and now we are turning our attention to the physiological adaptations. Xerophytes also show physiological adaptation. We are not going to discuss it in very detail. Xerophytic adaptation we are discussing in the succulency, or the succulents are well known to contain polysaccharides, pentosanes and a number of acids by virtue of which they are able to resist the drought. As we have classified xerophytic plants into 3 different categories, and out of which one category is drought resistant plant. And how they are resisting the drought, because they are storing polysaccharides and pentosanes and many other compounds which will enable them to resist the drought. Metabolic reactions which induces development of succulents is the conversion of polysaccharides into pentosanes. So as far as the development of succulency is concerned, or the feature of succulency is concerned, it is because of the polysaccharides. When they are converted to pentosanes, so they make those cells and tissues to store the water. Pentosanes have water binding property, and when the water is present, so they absorb and bind the water. So that's why the succulency is developed. So the pentosanes together with the nitrogenous compound of the cytoplasm cause accumulation of excess amount of water in the cells, and consequently the succulency is developed. So as far as the succulent feature is concerned, so how it is made, there are certain polysaccharides and pentosanes which are present in the leaves and in the stems, and these pentosanes and polysaccharides have a water binding ability. So their water, when it is available, so they bind that water and they make that structure as what we can say that a succulent. So another experimental fact in the physiology of the succulent plant is that the stomata open during the night hours and remain closed during the day. So this is another physiological adaptation which is found in the xerophytes, that in the xerophytes stomata are not normally open during the day and not closed during the night. So it is opposite. Stomata open during the night and they are closed during the day, so as to reduce the water loss. This unusual feature is associated with the metabolic activity of these plants. So regulation of transpiration, presence of the cuticle, polished surface, compact cells and sunken stomata protected by stomatal hair regulate the transpiration. So as we have seen, these all are the adaptations which are made to reduce the water loss. Either those are physiological modifications, either these modifications are anatomical, or these modifications are physiological. So as far as how succulency developed, why succulency developed, and at the end we have discussed that there is another fact that in the xerophytes that the stomata open during the night and close during the day, because in the during the day the temperature is very at extreme and 50, 60 or 70 degrees Celsius. So if the stomata are open, so they along with the gaseous exchange, water will be lost very rapidly. So that's why stomata are closed during the day and they are open during the night.